Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Talks with Tina. We are pursuing our most true and authentic self, or what? Uncovering our roots. Y'all, one thing I have grown to love is a cozy Talks with Tina. It's just so, like, to get rid of the shenanigans. Literally, the only light that I'm thriving off of right now is the outside light. We don't have no ring lights, no nothing. Just giggles and vibes, okay? Anywho, y'all already know the drill. I miss you guys so much. It's been a jolly good time. Now let me tell y'all something, and then I'm gonna get straight to the point for real. All those other times were not intentional that I left y'all hanging to the side. This time it was like, and I think everything can work together for the good, and that you come back with more wisdom and strength and all this other stuff. But this time, from the last video I made until now, I've really just like wanted to be in a place where I'm understanding more about me, more about what the Lord desires from Talks with Tina, and I just never wanted to be performative. I don't want it to be just because I have a topic in mind. And I think I've stated this before, I like to sit with the revelation now. In my earlier stages, I would get it, and then I would just rumble at the mouth. Y'all were in real time walking these things through with me, and just seeing the evolution of Talks with Tina and how much I have grown since then, from the baby whispers to the the real-time revelation. I was watching one of my earlier videos, and I just saw how the Lord was downloading stuff to me in that moment, and I was like, oh, girl, see what the Lord has done. You have grown so much. But now I think I've reached a place of maturity, and also just I think certain things I'm learning that not all words are meant to be disclosed out to the public, and some things are just for me, and that I have to sit with them, and I have to work through them and learn through them and stuff. Anyway, I say all to say it's been a jolly good time, and that's what I've been doing more so in this particular season. Is I've really been sitting with the words that God has given me. Yes, majority of them probably should have been talked about, truth be told. But I think as I'm learning to navigate life and just different friendships and stuff like that, relationships and me, I needed to sit with myself, okay? I needed to sit with myself, because there's one thing that I'm very adamant about, is that you don't want to bleed on the people that you're supposed to be helping. And so I can't sit up here and say, oh yeah, let's become our most true and authentic self. And majority of the time, I'm not authentic, because I'm still wrestling with the portions of me that did not want to grow and develop into all that God says I'm supposed to be, and even the portions of how He wants to expand and work through Talks with Tina. Anywho, that's a long chat, but in the spirit of getting straight to the point, today's topic is parasites and proximity. Y'all, this was a nasty one. I've sat with this topic for a few weeks, because the more I sat with it, the more God was just really working through what it is, this particular topic. All right, so when I was thinking about it, I was like, parasites and proximity, yuck. And then if you know anything about parasites, people do the parasite cleanse, you got worms in your guts and all that other stuff. But as I broke it down, I was like, well, how does one get parasites? How do you contract parasites? Proximity. You can only obtain, parasites can only enter into your body through contact or through ingestion. Hear me out. And so as we speak of here we go, we gotta make it practical. As we are dealing with the healing process and just your healing journey, what are the many ways that you get in contact with people, things, situations, scars, wounds, and all that other stuff? Through contact or ingestion. You don't get an infection just because, and it's through parasite. And I think, how do I make this real time? How do I make it make sense? And how do we full circle to life? Is when I had this neck thing, and y'all, I'm telling this in real time. When I had this neck issue, my doctor says you had textbook lymphoma, and I was like, what? I got what I'm talking about in it, right? And so he's like, you have textbook lymphoma. So when they did all the tests and the biopsies and all this other stuff, and I went through all kind of scares on what kind of wig I would have to wear if I had to go through chemo and all this other stuff, it turns out it was just an infection. He said, it looks like you got sick from somewhere, and then it attacked your lymph nodes and all this other stuff. But it's just that you just had an infection that kind of spiraled out of control. And what I've learned about the infection is I think even when you're healing, what do people say? I think anything, when you become sick, it's like an infection. Like the worst kind of sickness is when you have an infection, because you just don't know what the source of it is, and you got to get medicated and every time with all kinds of things. Anywho, and as I'm thinking of proximity, is like you begin to be infected with the things of those who you're connected to. You begin to get infected by your surroundings. You begin to get infected by your situations and circumstances if you are not in proximity to the right things. So if I'm not in proximity of the things that can heal me, then there's no other solution than I'm just getting infected. And so if we want to be technical, yes, there's good stuff and bad stuff and da-da-da-da-da. But if we're talking in the sense of parasites in proximity, we have to understand that the people who latch onto us, and let me just make it more plain to the people, because that's who we're most hurt by. That's what we see the most damage by. Like, yes, it can be a situation or a circumstance, but guess what? You're most likely surrounded by whom? People. You don't get hurt by a pole and then you're just mad at the pole. You will assimilate that incident to, I was hanging outside with my friends and then I got hit by a pole. You know what I mean? So it catch my drift. And so if I'm thinking of this last particular phase of my life, there were so many people, and I can even say it for myself, because once you get infected, you're sick, right? You know that there's an infection that's resting in you. And so if you don't deal with the problem of in the root and the cause of the infection, guess what? You spread it to others. And so as I was in this particular season, dealing with different people, like that was the hardest thing for me to deal with, is like dealing with different people, why people don't like you a certain way and why people say some stuff and and just letting go. I began to be a byproduct of the infection that I had. Like I was so like, I didn't want to deal with people. Yes, I was still on this walk. Yes, I was still healing different portions of my life, but because I did not get to the source of the infection, how did I get sick? How did I get hurt? What are these things that are affecting me? Then I'm just playing a guessing game of what it is that's hindering me. And so I would even bring it back to the neck thing, is that I just found a picture today on my phone, like in my Snapchat memories. And although my body did not present, like I didn't look sick to the normal eye, I can tell within myself, like even just looking hindsight, my eyes were so discolored, and I had a big old lump sitting on the side of my, I can't find it, my other phone. But I look back at the picture and I was like, oh man, you can tell I was sick. And I think when we are really going through this healing process where we think we're okay, we're just skating by, we're just doing the normal things, like you're sick but you're still trying to move forward as if nothing is happening, people realize, like, it's evident to the natural eye that you're sick, that you have an infection, but what's happening internally is that you are being eaten away. What I learned about parasites is that they don't kill the host, they keep them sick long enough to live. So even when we're connecting to bad people and bad things in certain situations and circumstances that are no good for us, guess what? It helps the other thing thrive. So if you know you're connected to somebody or something negative, very toxic, and you desire to get away from it, you know on the inside you don't feel too good, but you can still live, right? Guess what? You're connected to a parasite who is in your proximity, who will sit there and let you be sick while they thrive. That's nasty work, right? But what do you do to those things? You know, the parasites multiply. There's no just a singular thing. When a worm pops up, a parasitic worm pops up in your body, guess what? It's going to multiply. It's going to breed somewhere else to continuously make you sick. I'm holding this laptop like I'm really looking up something, but I did look up something. Hold on, let me hold your mule. And so as I was looking, I was like, okay, so even when the doctor told me that I had an infection, I was like, he did tell me it was presenting as a disease, as cancer. And so I was like, can parasites cause this or be a disease, right? And it says it can increase the risk of developing a disease. So a parasite is only an infection. It most always presents as an infection when your body is infected. When we talk about scars and wounds, you don't heal if you constantly pick at your scar. At your wound. It's not a scar. Scar is the healed version of it. A scar is the healed version. But if you constantly pick at your wound, guess what? You put yourself at a higher risk of infection, because you're opening yourself up to all kinds of filth and debris and all kind of nasty things that will in turn make you sick. Because what we think is something simple is really going to be the detrimental things that make us worse. So if I'm constantly surrounding myself, if I know, okay, like I'm gonna just use me because that's all I know. If I know my weakness right now is wanting to have healthy friendships and relationships, one, I have to look at myself. We always thrive on accountability. So I can't say, oh, all these people are toxic, What is inside of me that's helping them live? What's inside of me that's helping them live and thrive to the version of me that's trying to be healthy, that's trying to be good. There's something inside of me that they're hosting on, they're feasting on, that I now have to deal with. So even as you're sitting here trying to figure out what is the root of this infection, what is the root of me being angry, what's the root of me having bitterness, what's the root of me having unforgiveness, what's the root of me being lustful, what's the root of me being, like having daddy issues, like really get to the root of what it is. Because when we turn and have different relationships and go into different environments and different things, we can be sick, but to the outer appearance we look good. But then when we find something that's familiar, then they're going to thrive as us being the host. I hope I can make that make sense. Hold on. Let's run it back. How do we full circle and make it make sense to your life? So again, I can't say, oh my gosh, all these people were so toxic and da-da-da-da. No, okay, there was something in me that allowed them to be in connection for so long, right? So there was an entry point and an access point. But as I began to do the work to do better, the parasites had to die. Right? They had to go somewhere else because there was nothing worth living in or with. Oh, I'm trying to make this more practical than I am trying to make it more deep and spiritual and all this other stuff, but it really ain't gonna work like that. So anyway, so if I'm sitting here saying that all these people are this, that, and the third, there is something in me that's allowing it to thrive, right? And so once I do the work to start healing and doing better, then there's no choice for the parasite but to go or die, because there's nothing in me that they can thrive and live by, right? Boom. So I think even as we're taking this to the more practical side, we cannot sit up here and say that everything is all, every person is wrong and that this, certain things didn't deserve to happen to you. Do you think I knew I had something in my neck? No. I didn't. I didn't. And as it continued to grow and become more evident, guess what I did? I had to go consult a doctor. I had to go consult my doctor to say, this thing is growing at a rapid rate. What is happening in my neck? Can you help me? I didn't realize that I was gaining weight. I didn't realize that my eyes were constantly cloudy and dark. Like even in the picture I saw today, they were presenting more yellow. And I looked normal. And that's the problem. Like I would even say the whole premise of Talks with Tina, how it started and where I'm at now, I didn't know that I was like in a deep depression. I didn't know that I was just living on fumes and air, crying myself to sleep every night, gaining weight. Y'all, like when I was in that toxic relationship, I was happy on the outside. I was thriving on the outside. I looked normal. I think the normal things, you gain weight, you look happy, all this other stuff. But there was a portion of me that was dying. There was a portion of me that didn't know what to do. There was a portion of me that felt lost. There was a portion of me that literally felt sick. Every time I sat up there, a person called my phone, I felt sick. I felt sick every time I laid next to the person. I felt sick. But on the outside, everything was normal. And so how do we full circle this again and make it make sense to your life? Parasites and proximity is that they dwell and thrive on the inside. They will never kill you, but they will keep you sick long enough to live. So until you make the change and the desire to literally cleanse the thing that's keeping you sick, you will be sick forever. That's literally how it is. And then sometimes the things multiply. We ain't got time for things to multiply. Literally, you have to make a choice. I think that's the one thing I always tell people, and sometimes it comes off a little insensitive. It's like, whoa, this, that, and the third, this person did this. You have to make a choice. Everything is a choice. God has given us the natural things to literally cleanse our body and help our body thrive and live. And so that's why they say your body's a temple, all these things. This is getting so off topic, but I think it all comes together, is that you have a choice to do better. You have a choice to want to part ways with the things that are making you sick. And the longer that you say, I know I'm sick, but I feel okay, is the more that you're going to give that thing, that situation, that person access to thrive inside of you while you're the one dying. Is that plain? Is that plain enough? Like, I think as I've been growing in this particular season, I realized that those who I'm blaming are the ones who are thriving while I'm sick and dying. And I can't blame that on anybody else, because our bodies warn us when there's an intruder. Our bodies warn us when there's something, because we have those fighting mechanisms inside of us to say, warning, 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 warning. We're rejecting this, but you keep eating it. It's like if you're full, but then you keep saying, oh, I'm gonna eat because I gotta finish it. your body's going to reject it because it doesn't want anymore. And so I think if we start to pay attention to those warning signs, our bodies and our natural portions of us will start to reject the things that no longer suit us, the things that are harming us. But we have a choice to accept the warning signs, or we thrive. We don't thrive. We allow the sickness to manifest, and then we will question later on when we're already too sick to figure it out. So, how do we full circle and make it make sense to your life? You have a choice. You have a choice. Start to examine the ways that you feel your body is rejecting the things around you. If you have parasites in the midst of your proximity, you have to start acknowledging, maybe this isn't good for me. Maybe down the line, this will be worse for me than it will be better. Maybe, just maybe, I will be better without this. And when you make that choice, you will see yourself start to live and thrive. And that's the chat. Love y'all. Bye.